All right, dear devotees, welcome to you all. And let us give obeisances to each other with Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, and then to Guru with Om Agyantimirandasya, then to Mahaprabhu with Namo Mahavaranyaya. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Om Agyanatimirandasya, Gyananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Anmilitam Jena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Mahavaranyaya, Krishna Prema Prarayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurataje Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And just as we begin, while I was saying the names of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, let me see if I can just quickly find that quote Devashish Prabhu found in Chaitanya Bhagavat of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. The quote, chant the names of Gaura Nityananda and Krishna Prema will come looking for you. This is a very inspiring quote. Chant the names of Gaura Nityananda and Krishna Prema will come looking for you. So we should chant, I think we should chant the names of Gaura and Nityananda anyhow. It's not a business deal. But when we get such encouraging words from the masters, the Vyasa, one of the two Vyasas, as Guru Maharaj points out, the Vyasa of Chaitanya Leela, then it's a great encouragement for us to think, yes, there's so much, there must be so much in the name of Gaura and of Nityananda. And then we hear about the Maha Mantra. We hear about the mercy of the Vaishnavas' names also. So many places, when we're with devotees, things start popping up to give us nourishment in our life. So this was a discovery of Devashish Prabhu. And some of you were with us. We talked about that on Monday. Yes, last Monday, our evening of Monday with London. So, how are all the students today? Oh, Divya Shakti is also a student. I see she's on Facebook with us. Dandavats Divya Shakti Devidasi. And she's sending her obeisances also to all the beautiful devotees. Oh, that must be to you all. Divya Shakti on Facebook is sending her obeisances. So how are all the students? Did any of you do your homework?
They did, all of them, especially Nahush.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear it. And Chinmoy Dev, who did his homework, he put up his hand. Please
Me and
put
Jeevana
up.
studied together. You
and Jeevana studied together. Okay, well, that's a pretty high-powered personal tutorial, or do they say tutor, isn't it? When the students have extra attention from the teacher. Very good. So Jeevana, Chinmoy, Nahush. Anybody else would like to say they did their homework? And in case you forgot, Paramanand didn't need to do homework. We know that one. And Sevarupa did, yes? She's nodding her head. Okay. The 6. So first of all, somebody who didn't do their homework. What about Nirupama? Were you with us last week, Nirupama? Last Sunday? Not sure.
No.
Maybe not. All right. So I'll ask somebody who didn't say they did their homework. Praneshwari Devidasi. Okay.
I didn't do my homework,
No.
Maharaj.
I am going to ask you this, because you already said I didn't do the homework, no problem. Just tell us what are those 6 things. You don't have to say them individually, but the first verse of the Upadeśāmṛta is telling us 6 what?
Things that we have to do and things we don't have to do. The first one, controlling, which come online. The urges of speech, the mind.
So the 6 urges. This is the first verse is saying about the 6 urges, the 6 tendencies to control. So this is the first verse. Then the second verse is 6 what?
Association with no devotees.
No, but what is
false.
Okay.
False.
Okay, very
6
good.
false, and one of them, the one that comes to mind, is association with non-devotees.
Okay, perfect.
And that's not good.
It's true. The second verse is the 6 faults. So 6 urges, the 6 faults. Then the third verse.
6. Engaging in favorable activities.
Yes.
6. That's a quality. 6 qualities.
Yes. And then verse 4, the last of the 6.
When there is affection between devotees, they give gifts.
Yes, it wasn't a trick question. It was an easy question. The 6 senses to control. Then next one is the 6 things which will destroy our devotional service. Then next one is 6 things which will ensure the success of our devotional service. And then the next one, the 6 ways of loving interaction with the devotees. All right, so good. So then, because we have an enthusiast, you are all enthusiasts, but Chinmoy Defu is very enthusiastic today because he's been a student of Jivana. So we're going to ask the first verse only, Chinmoy Defu, to say the 6 senses urges to control.
The mind, anger, speech, tongue, belly, genitals.
Okay, but the way that we learned it, and I think it's in the verse, speech, mind, anger. If we remember it in the order, then it will be good for us to do. So speech, mind, anger, then tongue, belly, genitals. Very good. And then where is Nahush? Nahush, would you like to say for us the 6 things which will destroy our devotional service?
Yes. The 6 things that will destroy our devotional service are, I guess, like, for lack of better words, like eating more, like gluttony, and then like working very hard for like mundane things, like maybe a big paycheck, like, and then prajalpa, or talking about material matters too much. Yes. And then number 4, for number 4, I was thinking about this one in terms of Sharanagati, but like doing the rules and regulations of devotional service only for the sake of doing them, not for sake of advancing. And then having bad association, and then being greedy for mundane achievements, like trying to, I guess, I don't know, win the Nobel Prize or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking of something.
So now I understand you're an educated man. You consider the Nobel Prize to be something very, very sought after. Oh, I'd love to have that. All right, maybe you're a research scientist. Yes, but the 4th one is, there's 2 signs with 4A and 4B. Sometimes we remember it like this. That to, yes, 1, 2, 3, yes, 4. That is to ignore the rules and regulations, or to only, A is to follow the rules and regulations given in the scripture for the various practices, but just to follow them for the sake of the formality, for the tradition, whatever it may be. and not for the cultivation of devotion. Or the other side of the same coin is to neglect the guidances that have been given for the process of devotional service. So not to act whimsically. So both sides, two sides of the same coin, only to follow for religiosity, you can say, or to be whimsical and ignore the guidance that's been given. So yes, very good. And these these 6 items, then these will destroy our devotional service. Very good. And now 6 items which will ensure the success of our devotion. And I think we can ask Seva Rupa Devidasi. You did your homework, and I know you learned before. For you, it was revision, I know. Seva Rupa.
Dandavats. No, my mind is not that great, but I'm going to try. It is enthusiasm,
Yes,
confidence, and perseverance. And then it is oh yes, so practicing good regulative principles. I don't know if that's 4 or 5, like kirtanam, shravanam, and also not associating with worldly minded people or something to that effect. And 6 was it's gone. 6 is
following in the footsteps of the previous Acharya. Not a very good example, because it's not, I mean, not a very good mind, because it's not really literally the footsteps, it's following the example.
Yes,
but anyhow, following in the footsteps of the great Acharyas. Okay, good. Not bad for 4:15 a.m. in South Africa. That's pretty good. All right. And I know Jivana will love to tell us the 6 loving interaction between the devotees, because she knows it and she feels it. Jivana Didi, kindly.
So you gave me the easy one, because dealings with the Vaishnavas, there's to give in charity, give things to the Vaishnavas in charity, and also to accept in charity, which I thought was very interesting, because a lot of times someone may want to give something, go, no, don't give me anything, I don't need anything. But sometimes accepting it is also one of the loving dealings between the Vaishnavas. So anyway, for some reason that struck me as really interesting. And then offering the devotees, offering others prasadam and accepting prasadam. And then the last one is to reveal your mind, and then also to inquire from others to reveal their minds, what is on their minds.
Okay, but if we remember them in order, then we will have we'll have the giving gifts, receiving gifts, and then the revealing one's mind, inquiring confidentially.
And then offer prasadam.
Honoring prasadam, receiving prasadam, and then distributing prasadam, giving prasadam. Yes, very good. And I know Jivana knows these, because this is her relationship with the devotees we've seen throughout our whole life, following these 6 principles.
As you.
All right, very good. Now, today, oh yes, so is there any question? Did I hear a sound from somewhere? No, I didn't hear a sound. I didn't hear a sound. Panamanan Rudo is going for the... No? Okay. All right. So this is our last time homework. And it is very good for us to have these literally like as part of ourselves. So we can think about these at any time of day or night, and keep ourselves on track. And as a meditation, but as a meditation to put into practice. Meditation means we are going to consider these points. So those are 6. Now let us continue the Upadeśāmṛta because it is so practical and so much emphasized by Guru Maharaj, by Srila Gurudev, by Srila Prabhupada, by Srila Saraswati Thakur. This is our very foundation and substance. So let us come now to the next verses. So now we have, dear devotees, some things which are 3s instead of 6s. So only 3 things to remember. So do try to catch up with what we've covered with those 4 verses, in the sense of you can repeat them every morning or every evening whenever suitable, or every morning and evening for a few days, and then after that once a week. So we've kind of skipped the Sanskrit, but just like we go through the Shikshastakam test, Cheto Dapanam Marjanam Bhava, it is good for us to go through the Sanskrit, because Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, it is all part of our essential teaching. And some Sanskrit we will learn. After all, we did learn Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Okay, technically not Sanskrit, but it is all new words for us, the names of the Panchatattva. Anyhow, now we've gone through 6 items for the 4 verses. Next verse is 3 items, but it's on the same theme as verse number 4, about the devotees. So the first verse was our 6 senses to control. The second verse is the 6 items which will destroy our devotion. The next verse was the 6 items favorable to our devotion. So all of those are getting us onto the plane of controlling the senses, what not to do, what to do. Then the 4th verse, which we already went through, is the 6 loving relationships between devotees. And it uses the word love. It uses the words priti lakshanam, loving symptoms. Shad vidhang priti lakshanam, the last verse, the last line of that verse. Okay, now coming to text 5, this is also, you've got now 3 verses, 4, 5, and 6, which are all to do with the Vaishnavas. So again, it's quite easy, this 3 and 6 thing. The first 3 verses are all about controlling our senses, what not to do, what to do. The 4th, then now the next 3 verses, 4, 5, and 6, are all to do with the Vaishnavas. We already went through the 6 loving interactions with the Vaishnavas. The next verse is how we honor the Vaishnavas. And this is just 3 items, 3 things. And then the next verse is how we see the Vaishnavas, not to see any fault in the Vaishnava. And there I do believe we got it to 3 principal points too. So now we've got 2 verses coming up, which are the next 2 verses about Vaishnavas. So Vaishnavas are 4, 5, and 6. 4 we covered. 5 is in Sanskrit. Paramananda Prabhu, please tell us a Sanskrit of verse number 5.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyata dikshati chet pranati bhiksa bhajandamisha shushrushya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya nirdadi shunyam hridam ipsita sangalam.
And now who better to ask than you who do know the Sanskrit of this off by heart and who has this in their DNA. Please tell us what are the 3 things which are being taught to us here.
It's actually, like we hear from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, these are the words of Mahaprabhu coming to Rupa Goswami in the form of Upadeśāmṛta, the nectar of instruction. So during the several years, 3 years to be exact, the residents, and they were known to be very simple-hearted devotees of Mahaprabhu. They didn't know much Siddhanta, I mean, in a way of studying philosophy and everything. Of course, They were the personification of Siddhanta. So they would approach Mahaprabhu and ask, oh, please, Prabhu, how are we to recognize a Vaishnava? Who is the Vaishnava? And every year, Mahaprabhu will give one answer. And then again, the next year, they will come and approach, oh, please, tell us again. Then Mahaprabhu will take it further and then further. So giving three types of devotees. And then first, Mahaprabhu said, whoever is even once chanted the holy name, he is to be honored in your mind. You can give him respects in your mind. He may be not perfect. He may not be practicing perfectly, doing perfect sadhana, but he already chanted the holy name sincerely, not with any bad intentions, not to criticize, but there was some sincerity. In a way, with a pure heart, he chanted the holy name. He is to be respected in your mind. So honor that person, give him some respect in your mind, and from a distance, he is worshipable that way. And then the next year, the Kulinagrama residents came again and said, Mahaprabhu, we want to know more. Who is the Vaishnava? Then Mahaprabhu is saying that the one who is accepted proper diksha, initiation from a spiritual master, and actually engaged in practicing bhakti, Vaidya bhakti, sadhana bhakti, chanting the holy name of the Lord. He is to be respected and befriended. He is your good friend. So you must respect such person. You must serve that person and serve in the company of that person. Then the third year, they approach Mahaprabhu once again. And again, the same question. Then Mahaprabhu is saying, Yanhara Darshane say, Yanhara Darshane Mukhe, I say Krishna Nama. He is saying, by whose darshan, by whose presence you will be inspired to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, inspired to surrender to Krishna. That just by whose presence, he may not say anything, he may not give you any instructions, he is just there. And Mahaprabhu is a perfect example of that, and Mahaprabhu Parshats are a perfect example of that. That person you must accept as the highest devotee of Krishna. And without any hesitation, you must surrender. Accept, beg him for shelter, accept his lotus feet as your only shelter, and serve him. So these are three instructions that in this verse, Krishneti Yasi Giritam Manasadriyata, the first one, offering respects in mind. Dikshati Chet Pranati Bhikcha Bhajantamisham, the one who is engaged in sadhana, in bhajan, chanting the holy names continuously, he is to be served, respected, and befriended. And then the one who is Dikshati Chet Pranati Shushrusha Bhajana Vigyam Ananyam Anya, Shushrusha Bhajana Vigyam, who is on that level of pure practice, unalloyed devotion, that kind of devotee, you must accept as your shelter, serve him. He is the highest type. So these are the instructions of Rupa Goswami, coming originally from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Right. Yes, indeed. And so this is the verse with also the background to the verse. So I'll read the translation as given by Srila Prabhupada in his Nectar of Instruction. So, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged, here it says, in worshipping the deity, but engaged in seva, in service, worshipping the Lord. There's number two, so one should offer obeisances to such devotees who are initiated and trying to serve. And three, one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Jai. So three ways of us to give honor to the Vaishnavas. So we mentally give our respect to anyone who's chanting the name of the Lord or chanted the name of the Lord with sincerity, may or may not be initiated. So, but we give respect, but with the mind. Number two, we'll give our obeisances and open respect, in this way to those who are initiated and who are trying to serve. And 3, we'll give our whole self to those who are constantly chanting the name of the Lord, who have no other aim and who have no tendency to criticize others. This is how Srila Prabhupada is given in his translation, which we are most familiar with because we grew up with this translation, which is probably why I keep it here. Hare Krishna. So that's the second verse about the Vaishnavas. The first verse with the 6 loving relations. The second verse are the 3 ways to give honor to the Vaishnavas. So 4, 5, and then verse 6, which we'll also cover now, is in one sense telling us one thing, not to see the fault in any devotee. But it's telling us a bit more than that, because it's also telling us that the devotees are super pure despite any appearance of fault. So maybe we can ask Paramananda Prabhu to recite the Sanskrit of this verse again, because better by memory than by reading. And I admit I'll be doing it by reading. Paramananda Prabhu.
Ishtva svabhava janitaya vapusashta dosha na prakritasya iha bhakta janasya pasha.
Ganga.
Ganga vasam kalabud buddhatena pankar brahma dravatvam apagachati niradharma.
All right. And maybe Praneshwari, you may like to read for us the translation of this verse.
The translation in Śrī Śrī Upadeśāmṛta is, do not consider devotees in this world to be mundane as a result of observing faults produced by their nature or in their body. The water of the Ganges never loses its nature as liquid spirit because of bubbles, foam, and mud, all of which are natural in water. And Srila Prabhupada, being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee doesn't identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So beautiful.
Jai. And this verse, it's essentially putting over this one point about do not see the faults in the Vaishnavas. And what strikes me again and again, and this time also strikes me, that it's such a long verse with so much detail that why will there be such a verse with so much detail, like hammering home this one point from different angles? That is that there is so much stress on avoiding Vaishnava aparad. We must see the opposite, that the Vaishnavas are pure. And how is it that the other verses, you see, it's relatively short and giving like this point, just saying a point. But this verse is giving it quite a detailed way so that the devotees don't think, oh, well, yes, I mustn't see any fault in them. But in this case, I can see some fault. It's almost like Rupa Goswami is saying, no, in no case are you to see any fault. And is pointing out from different points of view. So it's an extensive verse to get across one point. And I'm trying to remember when we've gone through this verse before, I remember we took out 3 parts. One part is from the angle not to see any fault in others, in the devotees. Number 2 is that the devotee is always pure, like the Ganges water, not covered by foam and bubbles. But number 3, I'm trying to think what was the third item, because I remember we said, oh, there are 3 things to learn from this verse.
Maharaj, actually, Srila Gurudev elaborates on that.
Yeah.
When he speaks about the power of the holy rivers, there's a talk by Srila Gurudev, and he says, what is the power of Ganga? What is the power of Jamuna? And he's speaking of Ganges civilization. Also, he's giving example of Mahaprabhu's Sannyas Lila. When Mahaprabhu is passing through Radhadesh, he is nearing the Ganges. And the cowherd boys are all, just by seeing Mahaprabhu, of course, they're inspired by Mahaprabhu, but that's also a natural inclination. Gurudev points that out. They're chanting, Hari, Hari. And Gurudev says, because he's nearing the Ganges, and they're living nearby the Ganges. So influence of the Ganges, and the Ganges is a divine, really a divine living entity descending from the spiritual world, blessing us by her presence. So regardless how she may appear externally, she will always remain pure and spiritually powerful. So by the influence of the Ganges, even from a distance, people are purified. They're inclined towards spiritual life. They're inclined towards devotion. So Gurudev is pointing that out. Jamuna is same. Any holy river, they have that power, but especially he's been speaking about Ganges and Jamuna. Then he points out, so is the Vaishnava. By Vaishnava presence, automatically we're inclined to inquire about higher things, inquire about spiritual things, about divine. So we're not thinking about talking, if you see a sadhu approaching you, you're not going to ask him, so what is your take on this, whole conspiracy policy or politics in general or anything else? No, you will see he's a representative of something much higher than that. So automatically you will be inclined to inquire about something connected to the spirit, not mundane body or mundanity in general. So we can consider that third, the all-purifying presence of the devotee. So that's the third aspect of this verse. So how should we see the devotee? How devotee is always spotless, and how powerful is his presence if we can see it in a proper light. So Srila Guru Maharaj actually, and of course Srila Gurudev and everybody else, including Madhusudan Maharaj, they may give explanation of this verse in Bhagavad Gita. Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhur eva cha mantavyak samyak vyavasito sakshipram bhavati dharmatma sasvachantir nigachati kauntiya pratijanihi name bhakti pranashiti. So how is and we hear the story how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's walking, chanting the holy names somewhere in the divine abode. And then the Mahajans are having a Gita class. And this is also a wonderful thing. The Mahajans, 12 of them, the highest of the devotees in this creation, they're having a Gita class and they're discussing this particular verse, and they're perplexed how to understand this verse, because really there's some difficulty to comprehend what is the hidden meaning. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals that. He's saying the devotee who already on the path, he is spotless. It's just a matter of time, and the time is it's a matter of this world. It's belong to the mundane creation. We know that in spiritual world, time is a servitor. Only for the necessity of the lila, time does anything according to Krishna's will, or Yogamaya and Baladev. So it's just a matter of time when that person will become purified, become absolutely pure. So if we can develop that kind of vision, we will become Dharmatma. It's not that he will become Dharmatma by practicing or associating. That is a different story. But if we can see devotee free from faults, even though he is not fully, like Srila Guru Maharaj saying, dying remnants of bad habits, then we will become a devotee by just obtaining and following that vision. So I think that is the third part, Maharaj, of the verse.
So the first part is not to see any fault in the Vaishnava. Number two, the Vaishnava is pure, just as the Ganges water is pure despite any external appearances. And number three, the Vaishnava is all purifying, like the Ganges water. So the emanating purity. And there is a verse, and I came across this when we were doing a project on the Ganges for the Kumbh Mela, and we're doing some video part. There is a verse that says, it's better to be a dog born within where the breeze of the Ganges flows, not even necessarily, at the Ganges and swimming in it, than to be born as a king in a tract of land devoid of any touch of the Ganges. So this idea about the purifying effect of the Ganges being distributed even by the wind, so the devotees also, they are distributing purification. And as most of you will have heard Guru Maharaj's expression that just as we know about pollutant that's from a factory, from a chimney, pollution is being distributed from one place. There also it must be the opposite, from somewhere where is purity, purification being distributed. And that is from the Vaishnavas, from the devotees, the actual devotees of the Lord. So then the 3 points we're taking for this is not to see the fault in any Vaishnava, only see the Vaishnava side. Number two, the Vaishnava is pure, but he may have any kind of different departments of apparent imperfections. And number three, the Vaishnava can purify others. They are distributing purity, emanating purification. So this is verse 6. And so today we'll only do these 2 verses. And then verses 7 and 8 then come on to our practice of devotional life. And they need, as we read verse 7 and 8, which we'll read next time, and please try to learn the translation. As I say, we're not trying to be pandits, and it's very difficult for some of us to learn the Sanskrit verses, and especially with the word meanings. But it is good for those who have the younger brains and capacity to try to do this, but to know the meanings of the verses. And again, as we had in the second verse, just to be able to recite verses, to recite even the whole Gita, recite the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Guru Maharaj met such a person who knew the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. But when Guru Maharaj asked him what is the most important, what's the message of the Bhagavatam, who is the greatest devotee according to Srimad Bhagavatam, then that person couldn't pick up that point, even though he knew the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam, can recite the whole thing. So there are those with particular capacity to learn so many things, but it's the very essence that we need to capture. And verses 7 and 8 are both so promising, but we need to start. We need to make sure we've got verse 1 in our life, verse 2 in our life, not just in our memory stick, which we've plugged into our USB slot in our neck. Oh, conspiracy. Okay. They will do, some are saying. And not just putting into the memory, but putting into our life. Verse 1, our 6 senses to control. Verse 2, the 6 items which will destroy our devotional service, and therefore we do not do. We make it part of our life. 6 items which will ensure the success of our devotional service, the creeper of devotion. Then we do those things. And then the 6 ways of interacting with the devotees. So we do those things. Then the 3 ways we are giving respect to the devotees. So we do those things. And then this way of not seeing any fault in the devotees, understanding they are pure, and understanding from them purity is emanating. So we need to try to make all of these our life. And then verse 7 and verse 8, because you just had verse 1, 2, 3, our things to control, not to do, and to do. Then 4, 5, 6, the devotees, the devotees, the devotees. And now 7 and 8 are two wonderful verses that are giving us so much encouragement and promise, hope. And as we said about the favorable, to be enthusiastic, to be confident, to be patient. So now, with our enthusiasm, we need to try to enthusiastically follow Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu's advice given by Rupa Goswami in Upadeśāmṛta. We need to be confident. And the next verses are going to give us very good reason to be confident. And we must be patient. As Guru Maharaj says, we can't expect within a moment everything is going to be revealed to us. And then I finished everything. Not at all. We must know we are on a long journey. So added homework, but please try to go through these verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6, 6, 6, 6, and 3 and 3. And then it gets a little easier even as we go on in things to remember. But these 6 verses we've come to so far, this really is making our very basis of conduct from inside to outside, to make our conduct suitable for chanting the holy name without offense. Hare Krishna. Thus ends my sermon for today. Hare Krishna. But we receive so much life from Upadeśāmṛta. And there is now that thick Upadeśāmṛta. There you'll get Guru Maharaj's words, Gurudev's words, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's words about Upadeśāmṛta. How important and how wonderful it is, not as an instruction book, but as the very essence of the life of a devotee. And in the meantime, welcome to Anukul Chandra Prabhu and to Paurnamasi Devi Dasi, who joined Dibbi Shakti, and maybe others who I can't see on Facebook. So good to know you are with us. And we are here on our back to basics, trying to really make a nice basis for our individually, our devotional lives. I spoke too much. Hare Krishna. I think Chinmoy Dev would like to add something.
Well, Maharaj, if you could speak a little bit on the 4th verse, where those 4 activities or the 6 activities, these are things we do with non-devotees as well. So what makes those activities particularly beneficial with devotees? Or what's the difference between doing it with devotees and non-devotees?
All right, so Guru Maharaj, he says, these activities, when we do with devotees, then their devotional nature will magnetically rub off onto us like a magnet. And if we do the same activities with non-devotees, their nature will rub off on us. So we want to do these loving relations with the devotees. We don't want to get more and more mundane qualities, if you like the attachment to in the mundane plane. However, by giving and accepting gifts, etc., if we can maintain our purity in the mood that we are engaging the non-devotees in service, by them giving me something, then okay, they're giving this to me, but I am going to give this to the deity, to Guru, to the Vaishnavas. I'm not going to take this and utilize for myself. Okay, I'm going to accept in the mood that I'm going to give to the Lord, so they will get some sukriti, some benefit. And similarly, where we will give them prasadam, so they will have little bit of a trick, that they will be tricked a little to appreciating this tasty food, which happens to be Krishna prasadam. But at the beginning, they may not understand it's Krishna prasadam. So distributing prasadam. And in the beginning, when we are going out and we're in the world doing the preaching, doing programs, house programs, temple programs, etc. Then I was with, some of you know him, Kumkum knows him, Dayadha Gauranga Prabhu, a leader devotee from a previous age who's passed away now. But we read Upadeśāmṛtam from our early days in Krishna consciousness. And we know that we're not to accept food from non-devotees. Srila Prabhupada very strongly saying, it will make your mind wicked. Their wickedness will be transferred in that food, etc. But Dayada Prabhu, he said, but we are going to their homes, and the people, they want to cook for us. It is their opportunity to do some service to the devotees. So our duty in such cases is to be generous to the extent that we will accept. But in offering, we will offer that to Guru Maharaj. So this way, they are going to get some sukriti, agyata sukriti, or even gyata sukriti, because they are trying to satisfy the guest, the sadhu guest, as it were, coming to their home. So everything does depend on consciousness. But when it is purely doing these items with no idea of, we are going to give benefit to the non-devotee, then as an interaction of a superficial level, of a mundane level with the general people, then we will become contaminated by those things. We will start to get that greedy mentality, etc., etc. So these items we want to cultivate, especially in relation with the Vaishnavas. And with the non-devotees, with the family, this, that, and the other, we really need to be careful with everything we accept.
Well, I need to go to the bathroom, so why don't I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, and I'll meet you
Okay.
in front of.
Maybe Pranesha, you can just click the.
I will have a.
Oh, maybe am I a host?
Rupanuga. He does not know.
Maharaj, please unmute.
Yes, yes. Somehow I unmuted myself. How did I do that? Oh no, I muted myself. Yes. So please, some input from others.
Maharaj, one story I can tell with Srila Govinda Maharaj on that subject. 2 stories actually. And there are more than 2 stories, I bet. But one of them, when Srila Govinda Maharaj received first devotees from China, so Yudhamanya Prabhu, he brought some devotees, I think Urmila was one of them, Jayavati another. And they brought one man who was also very attracted. And they brought some gifts. And so a man who came from China, we have to understand that, of course, he doesn't know anything about Vaishnava etiquette or what the sadhus they can take, what they shouldn't take. But anyhow, he prepared a gift from his heart. He brought the best bottle of rice wine available. And really, this is a tradition in China and in Asia. It's considered to be a very valuable gift. Like even in Japan, nothing happens without a rice wine being offered in a shrine, and it's just local tradition. So, and he purchased a very expensive bottle. So when he pulled it out, You probably were there, Maharaj. I bet you were there.
I was there, yes.
So you remember, remember the reaction of the ones who were sitting in veranda. Everybody just rushed to stop. What is this? What are you giving? It's a wine. No, you shouldn't give it. And he was shocked. I mean, that man was shocked by that kind of reaction.
Yeah.
But Govinda Maharaj stopped everybody. He took that bottle and then proclaimed, "This is the best gift I ever received." And with sincerity, and really, he wasn't just saying it, he felt it. And the man felt it, that his gift was accepted. And then for a long time, and I really pray it's still there. It was on Govinda Maharaj's shelf behind his seat in Navadvip veranda. You know that, Maharaj.
Yes, I definitely know that. And
But
really,
unopened, I have to mention, unopened. It was just there. Yes, Maharaj.
No, really, this is Govinda Maharaj too. This is Srila Gurudev, his nature throughout. His nature is accepting from the heart. And the technicality or whatever it is, and in this case, you see, that man, he doesn't know, but he's trying to give the best thing. And then Gurudev, and he knows it automatically inside. He didn't even have the slightest shock, oh, but this is wine, and then start to think about, okay, but I need to adjust and accept it. Like from the beginning, he was gracious. And the devotee is a little less merciful.
And another story is when Govinda Maharaj came to one, it's a factory that would make sweets. And Avadut Maharaj had some relationship with it. They were kind of important for him because he was just establishing Jagannath Express restaurants. So somehow it was very important. So he invited Srila Govinda Maharaj and all the associates to come. And those people in that place, they labored very hard to make this huge, enormous, maybe 150 kilos or something really big cake. And I mean, again, they're not Vaishnavas. They don't know anything about the rules of the Vaishnavas. From their heart, the whole company really put their heart and time and energy into creating this beautiful cake. And there was the cake sitting in the middle of the table, maybe a meter in diameter, maybe more, I don't remember. But then everybody is looking at the cake, and then the word was an eater. Eggs. Eggs. Oh, and Govinda Maharaj heard that. And looking at everyone and seeing that there are probably, I don't know, 20 people anticipating, they're thinking, is he going to accept that? Think if he would say, hey guys, there's eggs, I'm a sadhu, don't take the eggs, take this nonsense away. What will happen? I mean, their faith, if there was some faith in them, that will be completely demolished. Their hearts will be broken. Avadut Maharaj's project will suffer, and it will be a chain reaction. But Gurudev, graciously, just with his own hand, he just took a piece of cake and accepted it, looking at everybody else. And of course, everyone else had to do the same, and not just hesitatingly, but happily they had to do the same, following Srila Govinda Maharaj's example. And then sometime we're observing with certain devotees that we know, when other devotees who respect them, they bring some gifts. And of course they know, okay, they're not bringing meat, alcohol, and all those things. They know devotees bringing gifts for the devotees. And then those devotees say, what did you bring to me? I don't need that. You can keep it. That is heartbreaking. If you look at Govinda Maharaj's store room, and Madhusudan Maharaj know what I'm talking about, Chinmoydev know what I'm talking about, Jivana and many others, why would Govinda Maharaj have several hundred socks, for example, and several hundred scarves and several hundred other things? But how he can reject when something is offered with love and affection to him? That will break the heart of the devotees. So again, he will accept them, even though he doesn't need it, but he will keep it and will give them some time, but very carefully thinking, who is he giving them to? So he appreciated every single gift. So before you're saying, hey, I don't need that, so you keep it. Think about it. You're going to break the heart of the devotee. With full sincerity, they're giving it to you. And it's not something that will break your principle of Brahminical culture. Besides, we don't have any Brahminical culture. Besides maybe Varun and Nahush, they have some samskar there. So what are we talking about? Just accept, reciprocate affection, reciprocate love. So we should remember that. And we have a perfect example of Srila Govinda Maharaj.
And all of this is transmitted through the heart of the devotees. It is not book knowledge, it is not technical knowledge. And this is why we are very happy to share whatever we got from Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, because really they were heart distributing. And other stories are there too. We were in Dum Dum Park on his veranda, and it was a festive mood time. Devotees are coming. And then some devotees brought and gave to Gurudev very expensive, like similar thing, very expensive box of chocolates with, this kind of chocolate, that kind of chocolate. And Gurudev graciously accepting, and then it's on his table, and then some other thing is coming and going. And then with so many devotees there, Gurudev he opens the box, and then he starts distributing, like one by one, so many devotees, and he gives here. And then one of our sweet sannyasis picks up the lid of the box, which is off, and starts reading the content of the box. And Gurudev took from him and said, "You nonsense." You're going to read the content to see whether there's, especially eggs go into lots of chocolates.
If the love and affection included in the ingredient there, maybe it was written on the box.
With love and affection, yeah. Hare Krishna. Well, that was a classic, and Gurudev, seriously giving that feared word of chastisement. It wasn't to Shruta Shravarpu. He would never do such a thing like that. Just before anyone starts to put that thought when I say about the feared word of chastisement. Hare Krishna. Yes, wonderful things. Anyhow, dear devotees, so there is a message in the chat box, and I don't know what it is. Chintamani, I'm embarrassed I didn't pretend to try to do homework. I have no interest in pleasing the Vaishnava. Oh dear. Nahush, to Chintamani, to everyone. Chintamani, you have already done number 4 by inviting me here, so I'm very grateful. LOL. Was he from ISKCON? Oh, well, Nahush, were you from ISKCON before?
Sort of. I mean, I go with the devotees in ISKCON, yeah. And then I come here too. So.
Yes, very good. Oh, the chocolate judging sannyasi, was he from ISKCON? Okay, so Nahush, it wasn't that Chintamani was asking if you were from ISKCON. Well, I'm not sure. That I don't know. That sannyasi was not from ISKCON. Now you're going to start trying to find out who he was, aren't you? Anyway, doesn't matter who he was. He knows who he was. Hare Krishna. So anyway, here we go. Hare Krishna.
May I ask one question, Marge? I don't know if I have time, just real quickly. In terms of time and the time was mentioned. So I came to ISKCON a little bit late, or came to the devotees a little bit late, and so I in terms of the amount of chanting, I should have been doing it, say, if I was giving to the contact devotees when I was a child. It should have been more. So sometimes I feel that I need to double the amount of chanting in order to be accountable for the time, make up the time that I did not chant. And also, I think it's also an offense to the holy name if we don't chant after hearing about it so many times, if we are taking up to the process of chanting. So I wanted to know if that is a okay sentiment, and you know, I guess if you wanted to address that a little bit, but I don't know how to phrase my question exactly.
No, it sounds to me that your intention is very perfect. There's also some feeling of regret that I haven't used my time properly. And so that gives us a little bit of a boost that we should now use our time even more properly, because I've wasted so much time. So time and quality of that time, the quality of our time. Guru Maharaj very much stressing, you must have noticed this when you've read and heard from him or read and heard about him. Guru Maharaj always stressing the quality. So we've wasted lifetimes, and we've wasted so much time in this lifetime. But from where we are now, we need to try to re-establish our firm conviction, our enthusiasm, our confidence, our patience. Again, coming down to the favorable things in our devotional life. So, no, it is good what you mentioned, but we must not try to artificially make ourselves, say, oh, okay, so now I'm going to chant 64 rounds a day for the next 1 year to make up for all the times I didn't nicely chant over the last years, whatever it may be. I mean, in one sense, we can say that's a very good intention, but we must be realistic that we'll do something which we can manage to do rather than artificially do something. And then we find ourselves waiting for, oh, when's this going to finish, etc., which is also not favorable. Rupa Goswami tells us that too, but in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he lists so many things which we should avoid in our chanting. So we should try to chant purely, use our time purely, utilize our time purely, and especially if you can be in the association of devotees, do something for the devotees. Try to give your time for the devotees. Help paint the temple, clean the temple, offer to do something. Be with devotees. Service is always stressed, and yes, chanting in the service mood, of course.
Maharaj, and there is a comment from Paramananda in the chat that is very good for Nahush.
Okay. So the next verses of Upadeśāmṛta we will come to this next week, or next week, I mean after 3 days. And so we'll come there. So I'm telling myself, as well as requesting all of you, please, we only went through 2 verses today, and we can say 3 items of how to honor the devotees, and the 3 qualities given in that big verse, not to see the fault in the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas are pure. The Vaishnava, part of the Vaishnava is pure. And the Vaishnava is emanating purity. He's our very direct connection with divinity in this world. So we only went through those 2 verses today, but let us all try to make all these verses we've come to now part of our thought. So if anyone will ask, oh, what are the 6 unfavorable things? Like immediately we can say, 6, what are the 6 favorable things? So it is very good for us. The first 3 verses, our control, what to avoid, what to do. The next 3 verses is about the Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavas. That's 6 verses. This is where we've got to. 3 verses and 3 verses. And now the next 2 verses going to be so encouraging for us. But we need to follow these next 2 verses with the basis of these first 6 verses firmly in our like nature. All right, dear devotees, and Sebastian joined us, and Madhava Prabhu, Michael Madhava joined us on Facebook as well in a little later time. Very happy having you with us. And here on Zoom, we have our gathering, and those who also see us later on. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, please have some special days. And actually that mood of we wasted so much time, we must double our energy now in our service. Let us try to keep that mood with us, because really each of us, we can all think how much we've wasted of our time, if only we can use it nicely. So let us Saltamami, make this Saltamami.
His connection failed. Maharaj, you are speaking. I see your microphone.
Is it Maharaj's connection?
Yes, yes. He's speaking. He doesn't know that his screen is frozen.
Uh-huh. Because I see some other screens are getting frozen too, so I'm wondering what's happening. Chinmoy is frozen.
No, he's moving.
Oh, that's maybe me.
Yes, yes, he got disconnected.
I see.
I know it's very late for him. He has to connect for the other program, but I'm sure he will try to connect to say bye.
And wish us the good week in the service.
Yes, to encourage us.
And then Kumkum Didi just stole a seva from Seva Rupa, from Lila Shakti. Just see. Jai. It was Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Since it's already stolen, so I can just deal with the stolen property here.
But if he comes back, they will do it. He's here. He's here. He came for that.
I'm not sure what I came for, but somehow I was left talking to myself. Anyway, I did chant the Jais. So,
Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Anyway, please, my Dandavat Pranam to all of the devotees. Wonderful always having you with us. Bancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And I expect you ended the Jais without me. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari. Dandavats, dear devotees. Bhagavan Prabhu also joined us. Ekadashi. All of those of you who came. Radha Sundari Didi. Yes, and to our Brazilian devotees, Parama Bhakti Didi. In the middle of the night, you're with us. Leela Shakti Devi Dasi and Gaura Nataraj, maybe. Yes, Gaura Nataraj, I see here also. Wonderful. To each of you, Tungarasi Didi, Udaran Prabhu, Jivana, Kum and Varun Nahosh, Chinmoy Dev Prabhu, and Praneshwari Devi Dasi, to all of you.
And Bhaktavandu in Philippines, and Nityananda in Mexico, and Krishna Mohini in Soquel.
Wonderful. Very happy to have each of you with us.
Ananda Moy Didi also offering obeisances.
Aha, okay, wonderful. Dandavat, Dandavat. My obeisances to one and all, and to each of you individually. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari.